So a couple of weeks ago, I had talked about how on December 17th will be 1 year since I had to be hospitalized right before Christmas, and today is the 12th. So I'm gonna do this a couple days earlier. So the story behind me having to go to the hospital was that I didn't know my back pain that I was having was caused by a gallstone leaving my gallbladder going into my kidney duct. I thought it was just bad back pains because of my bad posture. You'll notice like I'm not sitting with the best posture ever. So I thought that was what my back pain was. That wasn't the case. It was a gallstone going into my kidney duct. And so that, I would say, was around October that pain started happening. So I did so many different like home remedies. I would take hot baths at night just to like relax my back. I used icy hot. I used a hot pad, a heating pad. I bought extra pillows so my legs could be elevated because that helped sometimes. I slept on my back. You know, trying to sit better. I even got an exercise ball because I heard somewhere that sitting on an exercise ball helps with your posture. I was doing all of that, but my back was still bothering me, and it wasn't until I fully started noticing what was happening until about around this time last year, because I had gotten sick where I was throwing up. And so I had gone to one of the local doctors that my NHS like policy allowed me to go to. And so they checked me out, everything was fine. And they had just said, you know, just make sure you're hydrated, all the typical things. And so I was, and one of the things that I kept noticing was no matter how much water I would drink, my urine was still a very dark color. And I would tell my mom this, and like we didn't know exactly what was going on because my she was a nurse, but she's retired now. And so I had said to my mom, if I think it was gonna get to the point where that Saturday, so I went on a Thursday, so that weekend, because I was off from my work, that I was gonna go to A&E and figure out what was going on, because my urine was like a dark amber color. And if you know anything, like that's not good. And I was drinking like 4 liters of water a day, and I was just like, I'm peeing, I don't know what's going on, but it was because the gallstone was blocking my kidney ducts and the bile couldn't leave. So fast forward to 5 days from now, when I was at work and one of my coworkers had said, the whites of your eyes are yellow. I'm like, no, that can't be. And I looked, and I took out my phone, and then I looked, and then I went into the bathroom, and then all of us were just looking at what it means if the whites of your eyes are yellow. And then all of our Google doctor knowledge came back as kidneys. Something was wrong with the kidneys. And for somebody who's always been healthy, who's never been sick before, this was kind of really, I was just like, what's happening right now? And it ended up being, while we were discussing this, a customer came by who was a nurse for the NHS, and we were talking about it, and she looked at me, she's like, you need to go to like A&E now. And so I'm like, I'll do it after work. She's like, no, you need to go now. But unfortunately I couldn't because I was closing, and so I had to wait a couple more hours, and then I went to A&E. So fast forward to when I get to A&E at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I checked in. The person's like, yeah. I'm like, apparently I'm yellow, and the person's like, yeah, you are. And so I went back. Well, I didn't go back by myself. Like 5 seconds after sitting down, I was called back. They checked me over, and then I was put into one of the rooms, and they were monitoring me for 3 hours. And you have to remember I had my dog with me. So I was really worried about Brooklyn because she was inside for like 18 hours. So I was there for 3 hours, and they said, we're admitting you to the hospital. I'm like, can I let my dog out first? Because I need to do that. And so I did. I let Brooklyn out. I went back to the hospital. I was in a ward. I had my own bed. And so the next day, the doctor's like, now next morning is Friday. So they're like, we're keeping you over the weekend because we can't. I don't know if they just couldn't do anything, or they were just waiting till Monday to like do this stuff. But I'm just like, I have my dog, and I was like freaking out. Luckily, Rebecca, one of my classmates in my program, she was still in London, so I messaged her. And for me, asking people for help is like one of the worst things in the world for me. I hate doing that. And so I had messaged her, and then she's like, yeah. And then so I had asked her just for like the next 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because Cindy, my older sister, was coming in on Monday, to just, you know, go over 2 or 3 times a day and let Brooklyn out. And so she very thankfully, thank you Rebecca for doing that, she let Brooklyn out. So that was one of my ease of minds. And then I was there Friday. I think Saturday I got my own room, so I was moved down a couple floors to the 2nd floor. And then you know, every couple hours they came in, did you know, blood pressure, oxygen, everything, the vitals, there it is, vitals. Every couple hours they did vitals. And then Monday, I think, no, what was it? No, Friday they did some, I think it was like during those first 3 days, they were doing like ultrasound, seeing what was going on. And then they saw that there was a gallstone in the kidney duct. And so they had it in for Monday that I had to get a tube put in. That was horrible. They gave me some medicine so I can sleep, but I wasn't fully out, because I could feel them, and I woke up when they were putting the tube in. So the tube was like right underneath, like right above my rib cage that they put the tube in, and I could feel that. And so I woke up, I was freaking out a little bit, and so I was like, I'm cold. So they put extra blankets on me. You know, the one person was like calming me down, and so then I was put back into the room. Now by this time it's Monday. My older sister Cindy's here in England. She cried when she saw me. She's like, holy, you really are yellow. And so she's like, I didn't think this was that bad. All right, so this is how bad it was. Your bupivacaine level, or bilirubin as it's called here, is supposed to be between 0 and 21. Mine was at 490. So yeah, I had to stay in the hospital for a very long time until my levels were at least in the 40s, and that's ended up being the case. So they had checked it. It was at 490. I think the second day after I had the tube in, it was like half. So it was in the 200s. And then so as each day progressed, it went more and more down. I had blood taken every single day. My arms looked, and it was, yeah, it wasn't fun. And so I felt like an old lady because I was like hunched over and like walking really slow because I was so terrified that the tube would somehow or another be pulled out. Mind you, the tube was very long. And so I was really worried about that. What else? The nurses and like the whole entire staff, I forgot to say, I was at the Chelsea Westminster hospital, and they were amazing, very hospitable, such an amazing staff. So if I wasn't sick, I probably would have had a lot more fun. Given the fact that I'm not a fan of hospitals, especially after what happened with my dad. So there's that. And then on Friday, on the 23rd, I had the tube taken out, and I was able to shower, and I was so happy. And then I was getting antsy because I was just like, tomorrow's Christmas Eve, this weekend is Christmas, and I'm still gonna be like, that was one of the things I was really worried about because I really wanted to be home for Christmas, and none of the doctors had been into this before Christmas Eve, and I was just like, am I going home? Like, what's going on? Luckily, I went home, and then fast forward a couple months, and I had my gallbladder removed. Moral of the story is pay attention to your body, because my body was telling me that I was sick. My urine was telling me that I was sick. I just was being very stubborn about when I should go to the hospital. So make sure you pay attention to what your body is saying, because it knows when it's sick. Yeah.